everyone, it's Mrs. Jordan. You're back on week 2, day 4, with some math here. Today I'm going to go through this little number talk with you about which picture doesn't belong. So this is in your packet. You should be able to just flip on through and find the same picture in your packet. So I'm going to read through the directions. Here we go. Think carefully about what is the same and what is different about each picture. Describe your ideas as clearly as possible to another person. You can find ways to explain why any one of the 4 pictures does not belong with the others. So when I read that, that tells me, really, there is no wrong answer because there is something that you could find that's different about A, B, C, or D. It all depends on the way you think and what you find in the picture, and it depends on your argument. So if you can back up your answer and explain why it's different, then you're correct, okay? Because if you look down here, it says there's a space to write why A doesn't belong, why B, C, and D. You can define and explain why every single picture doesn't belong. So I want you to pause the video if you have not already tried this, and I want you to go through A, B, C, and D, go through every picture and find something that's different and something that's the same of every picture. So you can start to formulate your argument about which picture is different than the rest and why. So pause the video now so you can try that on your own. Okay, so right now, hopefully you've paused it and you've tried to find which picture doesn't belong. So now I'm going to talk through every picture with you and explain what I see and what I think is the same and different, what I notice. So when I'm just looking as a whole at all 4 pictures, I see numbers, I see some pictures, I see some patterns, I see a lot of differences. In general, every single one of these squares to me is different, right? This one has circles, that's a number line, that's just numbers, those are squares, okay? But as I look at all of these as a whole, I can tell that they're all talking about multiplication. So that's something I see in common with all of them. But we're gonna dive in deeper. So let's start just with this simple one with D. There's just 2 numbers here, 5 times 3. Okay, so this is just a simple equation. 5 times 3. I'm going to go ahead and solve that equation so I have that number in my mind as I'm going through the rest of these. Okay, so I could count by 5s 3 times. So 5, 10, 15. Perfect. Okay, so 5 times 3 is 15. What's another way I could have solved that besides counting by 5s? Well, I could draw a model, right? I could do 3 circles and do 5 dots in each one. And look what okay, I don't know if you noticed as well, but when I drew out 3 circles with 5 dots to solve 5 times 3, that matches this picture exactly. So right away, I'm finding a connection between these, right? I'm going to write connection. Both of these pictures represent the same equation, the same multiplication equation. They're both showing how 15 is the answer to 5 times 3. On this side, it's a model, a picture showing, and on this side, it's an equation of just the numbers. Okay, so my first thought is, okay, these 2 belong. They match, right? So we have to be able to keep those, but let's look at these ones because they're a little bit different. I don't know if they're going to match just as easily. So pause again if you haven't and try these 2. Try C and B and figure out what you think is different. Okay, so let's take a look at B now. I see the number 5, I see the number 6, and a bunch of squares. I'm just going to count them and see if it matches up. So this says there's 5 on this side. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and up here we have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Okay, so this is an array of boxes, 5 by 6, which I know is just another model for the multiplication equation 5 times 6. It's just a drawing representing what 5 times 6 would be. So if I were to count all these squares, let's see what 5 times 6 would be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, perfect. And another way I could have solved that is, again, counting by 5 6 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I get the same answer. Or I could have drawn it out this way, although it wouldn't match this, right? Because I would need 5 circles instead of 3, and in each circle there would be 6 dots. Okay. Or I could have drawn it, I guess, with 6 circles, and in each circle I could do 5 dots. Okay, so one thing I notice as I solve this is one small thing that's in common is I know that we're multiplying by 5 here, and we're multiplying by 5 in this one, right? Because we did 3 times 5, and we multiplied by 5 in this one. So my first instinct here would be, okay, A, B, and D all belong because they're all showing multiplication equations of 5. These two happen to be both 5 by 3. This is 5 by 6. But that's something in common. But before we keep going, let's check out this one here and see if it's different or similar. So as I'm looking closely, I see a number line going from 0 to 10. And I see segments of 3 here in the middle. See, this goes, that says the number 3, plus there's an arrow here that's bouncing, showing that we're moving, starting at 0, and we're bouncing by 3 times, right? This is 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and we're landing at 9. Here's the end. So this right here is going 3, 6, 9, and you can see on the number line how it gets to 9. So that's showing me the equation 3 times 3 equals 9, because we're doing sets of 3 each time, and how many times do we do that? 3 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so as I'm looking at that, I'm seeing that we could actually connect this with A and D, but not B. So what I could see is that we're multiplying by 3 here, we're multiplying by 3 here, we're multiplying by 3 here, not in this one. So now I found a way that both C might be the one that doesn't belong and B might be the one that doesn't belong. So I'd be able to answer C and B. Now let's see if I can find a reason why A doesn't belong and D doesn't belong. Okay, let me think. Okay, so when I look at D, I can tell that this, just by looking at all the pictures, this is the only one that doesn't have a model. I'm gonna write no model. If you forget what that means, that just means there's no picture that goes along with this equation. It's just numbers. It just said 5 times 3. I drew the models in. So I would say D is different than the rest because there's no model in it. It's just numbers, only numbers. It's a simple way of saying that. Okay, let's check out A. So A could be different, kind of the opposite way, where it's only a model. Only a model, right? When you look at A, you don't see any numbers. Your brain might automatically start counting the numbers and say, oh, I see 3 different circles, but the rest of these all had numbers in them, even just a couple numbers. This one didn't at all, so that makes it different. I'd be curious to know if you guys found any other similarities and differences besides the ones I found. And if you did, you can comment them below or message me, and I'd love to hear from you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and with you guys fill out A, B, C, and D for what we found so that you have some answers here. So let's just start at the top. A doesn't belong because, if you remember what we said, because it only has a model, no numbers. Okay, so that's what I wrote for A. I said A doesn't belong because it only has a model otherwise known as a picture, if you don't remember that word, but no numbers in it. All right, B. What did we say for B? Does anyone remember? Okay, so B was different from the rest because it wasn't multiplying by 3. So I'm going to say B doesn't belong because the numbers multiplied are 5 and 6, but not 3. Because in that case, B had 5 and 6 in it. The rest of them, A, C, and D, all had the number 3 involved. So that makes that one a little bit different. Okay, let's go to C. So, who can remember what we said about C? Why was C different? Well, for one, it's a number line, right? That's different than the rest. It also doesn't have, it's kind of the opposite of B. It doesn't have a 5 in it. It's only 3s, where the rest of these, if you were to block this out, all involve the number 5. So I'm going to say C doesn't belong because it represents an equation without the number 5. Okay, so that's why that one's different. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just why it's different than the rest. Okay, the last one here. D, this is kind of the most obvious one, at least in my mind, but everyone's different. Another one of these might have popped out to you right away, but to me, this one popped out because it was the only one that was just an equation with numbers and had no model. So D doesn't belong because there was no model. It only had an equation, only numbers. Okay, awesome. So I hope that clears that up for you. Feel free to pause this, think about it on your own, rewatch it, do what you need to do, but I hope that helps, and can't wait to tune in next week. Thanks.